All right, guys, welcome to the first of this dashboard series. Um, we're going to start off quite simple in how to build a player dashboard and what metrics and values you want to include in your dashboard to present to the coaches. Um, I've got a lot of this from Adam Virgil, so go check out his stuff. Um, but essentially, what we want to end up with is a very um, user-friendly and visual dashboard that the coaches can get whatever data they need from it without it being too strenuous, because obviously a lot of them aren't Excel wizards. So we are going to start off quite simple with what we're after from a dashboard, and then start getting a little bit more visual as we go through the series. So firstly, I've got some data here from Catapult. I've changed the names and created some player profiles, right? And then I've got this injury list that we'll work through. So firstly, what do we need? We need, well, maybe we need the club or team name, the player, their position, and let's say their height. Right. Then the next thing we want might be their top speed, see where they rank, and probably their injury status for a particular date, which will over here. So we'll just bolden these. So we'll call this team the Suicide Squad because they are pretty wacky. Um, Now this player selection, I want it to be a drop-down menu for the coaches. So we're going to do this via a drop-down list. Now this should be pretty consistent across Microsoft and Apple Mac. If you go into data and then click data validation, then here you're going to select where it says allow, you're going to go list. And then the source, you're going to use your player profiles as the source. Okay. And then click OK. And then you've got a drop down menu. Now, the next thing we want to know is what position does this player have? So I like to use index match because I think it's a little bit cleaner than VLOOKUP or XLOOKUP. But before we do that, we've got to identify what our tables are. So this table here, well, I've already done it, but usually it comes up with like table one, table two. So I've changed it to table raw data, just so I know. And I would have already done it for this one as well, where instead of being table two, I just changed the name to table the score profile, so I know. So now if we go here and we go index, so it equals index table profile, because that's where our positions are in this. So if we go index table underscore profile, open parentheses, we want to find out the position, so that's going to be our first value. Then we're going to go match with this cell right here, and we're going to lock it in. And I'll explain why in a moment. That to table profile, player name. Then we're just going to make it an exact match by going comma 0. Close it all off. And there we go. You can also make this error proof or less frustrating if you just go if error and then chuck this all in, go comma to double apostrophe to finish it off, and close the bracket, just so that if there is an error, it doesn't come up with anything rather than NA or error or spill. Right, so then we can just drag that down for height because we've locked this cell in, and the only thing we're going to change is rather than drawing out their position, we want to draw out their height. And then click enter. Now we can check to see that this is dynamic by just going from the weekend to Bugs Bunny to Shrek. Okay, Shrek a goalkeeper, that's 213 centimeters. Yep. Cool. Okay, works. Now the next one that we can look at is the top speed. So this is just good to have as a bit of a ranking to see where they're at with regard to their team. So you're going to go MAXIFS, and now this we're drawing from their raw data from this table right here. We've only got one training session, so it's going to be whatever they hit in this session. So we're going to go equals MAXIFS table raw data, and then the value that we're looking for is the top speed for the athlete or the player name that matches this cell. I'm going to lock that in as well, just for good measure. And close that off. And so Shrek ran 27.2482 on that day. Oh, well, that's his overall top speed. I'm just going to put that to two decimal places. If we had more data and we still included the whole table, then it'd show up with the top speed of all the training sessions. Okay, so now we can do the same thing that we did for the name with the dates. We've only got the one date, obviously, but we can go data validation, list, and go to the source, which is the data. Select all of the dates that we've got for the data and click OK. And then it should only come up with one date because that's all we have. And then you can just change that to short date rather than general, so it actually comes up with a date there. And just so they stand out a little bit more, I might just make these a bit bigger. Yeah. Okay, now for injury status, we're going to use this data right here. But first of all, I want to make this a little bit more clear between who's in and out. So I'll make this a table. Table as headers. I like to just use this simple formatting. And then for conditional formatting, what we're going to do is make the players that are full or in training green by going new rule. Only format cells that contain specific text containing full. It's going to be a green fill. Okay. Do the same thing again. New rule. Cells that contain specific text. Mod, so if they're modified, they're going to be in yellow. And then the last one is if they're out. Classic. Cells that contain out, I'm going to leave them as red. So it comes up like this. Okay. So now we want to find out the injury status of this athlete on this date, right? And we need to make this dynamic as well. So we're going to use index match. So we're going to go index table underscore availabilities. Um, and we're trying to find out the injury status. So that comes first. I'm going to select, we're going to type match. You're going to write 1, comma, and then insert the cell with the athlete's name in it and lock that in. Now that has to equal the name in their table in the table availabilities. So you go equals table availabilities athlete, close that bracket, asterisk, like times by, open bracket, the date that we want to know, lock that in, equals table availabilities date. So obviously those two have to match. That's what this is saying. Right. And then we can just close that all off. And saying that yes, that it was full and ready for training on that date. We don't have any more data, but otherwise we could toggle between the two. But if we check Shrek's availability on the 2nd of December, it was full. Okay. I think we're going to leave that there for now and then start adding more to this in the next video.